my darlings, I'm Sophie Darling, and welcome to my reaction to Series 1, Episode 6. In the last episode, we saw Light wipe out an entire FBI task force, which I believe was far too easy for him to do, and we also saw the task force begin to narrow down, and I'm interested now to see how this is going to play out with the police, if Light will now start targeting people on his father's task force, which is going to be absolutely horrendous for his father, and I don't know if he would put him through that, but I think he will, because I think he's that egotistical. But we're going to get into it.
I am Al.
This is him?
He's nothing like I thought he'd be.
He's very casually dressed for a detective.
I'm Yagami of the NPA.
Matsuda.
I'm Aizawa.
Mugi.
Yukita.
I'm very sorry we're late. Currently, the five of us are...
Bang!
What the hell was that?
If I were Kira, you'd be dead, Mr. Soichiro Yagami, chief of the NPA. Kira needs a face and a name in order to commit murder.
Oh.
But I'm sure you've already figured
So
that
he's
much out,
teaching them a lesson to be like,
Please do not give out your
don't
name
do
so
that.
carelessly. Instead, let's value our lives.
I knew that he needed a face to kill someone, but I don't remember any evidence that showed that he needed a name, too.
There's no
I'm
way
so
to verify
sure
if
that,
this
like,
is related
Light
to
had
criminals whose names were never released publicly or whose names were
clocked
spelled
onto this.
incorrectly in the media have not been targeted. We briefly went over it at one of our meetings.
That's
see?
enough small
I didn't
talk for
think
now.
I was
Come this
going
way.
mad.
Oh, right.
This was
Please
brought
turn off
up.
all your cell phones, handhelds,
They
and
just
any
weren't
other communication
listening.
devices, and leave them on the table right there.
I realize he's been cautious from the very beginning, but I still can't tell if he trusts us or not.
No, I just find them distracting. I can't stand it when people's cell phones are ringing while I'm trying to talk. Let me
Why is
start
he
by
saying
saying
like
nobody
that?
takes notes on anything that's said in these meetings. That means when we leave headquarters, any information we need is committed to
It's
memory.
the ultimate game of precision. Is that even
Please
possible
make
to
yourselves
do?
comfortable.
Like, is that possible to do? Hang on. Let me see. Like this? That's not... You can't see my knees, but like, surely that's not a comfortable position. Does anybody sit like that? Like, I sit cross-legged on my seat, but like, there's no way anybody sits like this. That's not very comfortable. Like, I sit cross-legged, and I know that is quite weird to do on like a computer chair, but huh? That can't be comfy.
Right.
I love the emphasis on the dark circles. It kind of shows that he doesn't really sleep. Maybe because like he's so invested in what he does as his career.
Excuse me, L?
And from now on, I'll have to ask that you stop calling me L. It's Ryuzaki now, just to be safe.
Okay, Ryuzaki. If we know that he needs a name and a face to kill, couldn't we cut down on the number of victims by keeping criminals' names from the news?
If we do that, we'll only be putting the general public at risk.
The general public?
Why?
Kira is childish, and he hates losing.
But how do you...
Just what do you mean?
Well, I'm also childish, and I hate to lose.
I told you there was
That's
going to
how
be
I know.
similarities between the two of them. That
Ryuzaki,
they're going to have more in
Would
common
you
than they
mind being a
don't.
little more specific for us?
Early on in the investigation, I tried to provoke Kira with that broadcast. Up until then, we thought that Kira would only go after criminals, but as we all witnessed, he didn't hesitate to kill my stand-in. Also, as soon as I said we knew he was in the Kanto region, in defiance, he made sure his next victims came from within Japan, as if to say, and what are you going to do about it? Now, what do you think would happen
And he's
if we
playing
tried
little
to use
childish
media
games
restrictions to hide
and-
criminals from someone like that?
The suicide letters.
I guess...
If you choose to withhold the names of your worst criminals, I'll kill petty criminals or the innocent.
Yeah.
I'm holding the whole world hostage, so who's it gonna be? I'm not the evil one here, but all those who oppose me by hiding criminals, you are truly evil. That's exactly how Kira thinks. In any case, let's look at another way we can use the media to draw him out. Death of FBI agents infuriates the U.S. Latest killings anger the international policing community. Nations agree to send 1,500 investigators to Japan. For Kira, this will be way beyond what he faced with the FBI. He'll see everyone as a potential threat. Psychologically, he'll start to feel cornered, and that will cause him to take some kind of drastic action.
He's trying to make him
That's
trip up.
interesting. So he'll think there are 1,500 when there are
Become,
really
like,
only 7 of
paranoia?
us. And since none of these investigators exist, Kira won't be able to kill them.
It just might work.
We know he needs a name and a face to kill. And to some extent, he can control a victim's time of death and their actions before dying. We already know that much. Please keep that in mind and listen carefully to what I have to say next. On December 14th, 12 FBI investigators enter Japan.
Is he just writing
Here
on the
we are on
coffee
December
table?
19th. Using prison inmates, Kira conducts
As if he
experiments
doesn't have to
manipulating
pay for
his victims'
that.
actions before they die. In other words, during this window of only
Yeah, no,
5
he is.
days, Kira became aware of the FBI's presence and obviously felt threatened. Because he didn't know any of their names or faces, he was at a disadvantage. He needed to know how much control he had over his victims before he could use it against the 12 agents. And as we all know, on December 27th,
I got a hold of a file which contained all the names and faces of the FBI investigators in Japan, and I succeeded in killing each one of them. It's practically impossible to guess which agent gave the file to Kira, but I have to make sure that no one ever finds out that I came into contact with Raye
This is
Penver.
why he's going to kill Ray's fiance.
What you doing?
December 19th to December 27th. I've been most active during this period.
during this period, to the best of our knowledge, at least 23 individuals died of heart attacks. But these victims were different from Kira's previous targets. They were all alleged criminals, ex-convicts, or suspects in ongoing investigations, so legally speaking, they were innocent.
That's true.
What this indicates is that Kira had to manipulate these lesser criminals in order to kill those FBI agents. He killed that many people so we'd be unable to tell the decoys from those who were actually used. In truth, he probably only needed a few. He waited 8 days so the FBI could investigate other suspects, which meant there'd be no timeline linking him to their deaths. I suspect Kira had to be one of the people being investigated by the FBI between the 14th and the 19th of December. These are files provided by the FBI, and they contain additional information you might
And
find
Light's
useful.
gonna be on
For
there.
obvious reasons, you're not permitted to take these out of this room.
FBI only investigated a small group in the first 5 days.
Yeah.
So, does anyone have any questions?
Either his father's going to prevent
Actually,
Light from being
Ryuzaki,
investigated,
I do have one question for
or
you.
it's going to cause him
And it
being more
pertains to what you said
suspicious
to us
of his
earlier about
son.
how you hate to lose. Does the fact that you've shown us your face mean that you've lost? By just being here, are you admitting defeat to Kira?
No.
That's right. By showing my face to you now and by sacrificing the lives of 12 FBI agents, I have lost the battle. But I'm not gonna lose the war. This is the first time I've ever put my life on the line. I want to
He
show
has to
Kira
do
that we're
this
all
to
willing to risk our
bolster
lives if that's
The
what it
confidence
takes.
of the task force.
And that justice will prevail no matter what.
Hey, yeah, that's right.
I like the sound of that. We can do this.
All
It's
right,
the only
then.
way to
Let's do this,
unify
Ryuzaki.
everyone, so it's a willing
I had my
sacrifice
doubts
that
about
needs
whether
to be
it was
made.
really him at first, but there's no mistaking it. This man is L.
Things are going well. Just one clue, a single decisive factor is all I need.
Just one oversight. A single piece of evidence is all it would take. It could cost me my life.
Just one thing.
It's so fascinating to see the similarities between the two of them, and she is that one thing. She's the one oversight that he had, is that like he didn't realize she was going to investigate into him as well. Is how he's going to keep himself from getting caught, is making sure to get rid of her before she
You
either
already
tells
finished studying?
anyone
I guess.
or
I'll be fine. I haven't missed anything. The biggest risk I've taken so far was that bus-jacking incident.
killing
they'll
her
never be
before
able to
she
connect it with
finds out
Kira.
it's him.
Fortunately for me, both the police and Elle don't know that Kira can kill people by means other than a heart attack. However, if anyone were to discover
But
that
they
fact,
do, though.
I'd be in a lot of trouble.
But they do
What?
know.
Does it have to be now? Your father's been pulling overnighters with no change of clothes, so you're going to bring these to him.
But, Mom, I totally promised my friends that I'd go out with them today.
Why don't I go? I could use a break.
Thanks, Light. I owe you one next time.
So, I guess this'll give you a chance to spy on the police.
I won't go further than the reception desk.
Oh, you're bringing a page. Planning to kill someone?
No, but lately I've been bringing a page with me every time I go out, just in case.
Just in case.
That day, Raye said that he was planning to go to Shinjuku. That same day, 4 people died of heart attacks in the Shinjuku area, and there was the bus jacking. There's no way it was a coincidence. That's it. Kira can kill in other ways. It doesn't have to be a heart attack.
I feel like Elle's already suspected this.
I wonder if he's in a meeting right now.
Please, I need to speak directly with someone from the Special Investigation Task Force. It's urgent.
I'm sorry, ma'am, but I can't help you. As I've told you already, there is no one at Task Force headquarters right now.
There's no one at headquarters? Dad's cell is turned off. What's going on?
Can't you contact them somehow? I have information relating to the Kira investigation.
The Kira investigation?
It's like he's in the right place at the right time.
Look,
He's
I'll
going to
call
pretend
headquarters one more time
to
for you.
care
One
about
moment.
what she has to
Hi,
say
I'm Detective
using
Soichiro Yagami's son,
his
Light
dad.
Yagami. I brought my father a change of clothes, but it doesn't look like he's in. Can I leave him here?
Sure. Hey, I haven't seen you in a while, Light.
Oh, I'm sorry.
He's playing up to
What,
this
you don't remember?
innocent
You helped solve the insurance fraud murder investigation
idea.
sometime last year. But hey, no one remembers the receptionist, do they? So, Light, does this mean you're going to be helping us with the Kira investigation too?
Sure, if all goes well, maybe I'll find Kira before Elle does.
Find him before Elle does.
He's
As
playing
I
up
thought, there's
to
no
this
one at
idyllic
headquarters. You're
image
going to
of
have to
him
trust me on
as
this,
the
ma'am.
perfect
I'll be sure
son,
to give them your message
the
as soon
chief
as I
of the
see them, I
task force
promise.
son,
That's not good enough.
and
I
she's
have
gonna
to tell them in
latch
person.
onto that
Excuse me.
to tell him the
My father
information.
is actually in charge of the Kira investigation.
There we go.
If you'd like, I could pass your message on to him. His cell
And then
phone
he's
is
gonna
off at the
kill
moment,
her.
but I should be able to contact him soon.
It's so
A number of FBI agents were
clever
just
and
killed, and a lot
manipulative
of detectives have quit the
that
case
it's
because they're
frightening
afraid of Kira.
how
So he's pretty busy right now.
likable he
Light,
can make
it's probably
himself
better if you don't
to
discuss this
manipulate
with...
the people around
True,
him.
but it's practically common
It's
knowledge
very
at this point.
sociopathic.
Besides, I feel like I can trust her. You
It's
can
like
almost see it in
feigning-
her eyes. She's a wise and careful person, and that's why you
Feigning
wanted to tell me in
care to
person.
take
You
advantage.
thought this through. Well, am I right?
And she's fallen into his trap
I'm
as
sure
well.
my father will be calling me back once he checks his messages. When he does, I'll give you the phone and let you talk to him.
You're sure that's all right?
Oh, yeah. You understand why I can't just give you my father's cell phone number, but I have no problem letting you use my phone to talk to him. You'll have to trust my father and I, which I hope won't be too difficult for you.
Why is he so happy?
Thank you so much.
She walked right into that one, didn't she?
We've been talking and I just realized I don't even know your name. My name is Light Yagami. Light's written with the character for Moon and Yagami with the characters for Night and God. Kinda weird, huh?
My name's Shoko Maki. It's written with the characters for Shining. Ko as in child, space, and Ki as in tree.
Miss Maki, right? Miss Maki, I've been thinking about Kira's powers, and I believe they enable him to somehow control his victims before they die.
So do I. It's odd that you say that because that's exactly what I've been thinking. Kira's able to control their actions before he kills them, but there's more to it.
He's
If my
probing
analysis so
to
far
see
is
what she
correct,
knows
Kira can kill
before
in a
he
number of
kills
ways,
her.
not just with a heart attack.
There we go.
She knows? Who is this woman?
I'm almost positive that someone I know may have met Kira.
Met Kira?
My fiance Raye.
I'm sorry,
then
but
it's
if a
gonna
person came in
twig.
saying they'd met Kira, the police would be more than a little skeptical, to say the least.
I know. That's why I need to explain it in person to someone from Task Force headquarters. Otherwise, I'm afraid they'll just write me off.
But wouldn't it be better if your friend spoke to them instead?
It probably would, but he's no longer alive. He was one of the 12 FBI agents who came to Japan to investigate Kira.
An FBI agent who met Kira. Could it be?
You see, he was also my fiancé. While he was working, he got caught up in a bus jacking, and I have reason to believe that he met Kira on that bus.
Raye Penber.
Is something wrong?
Nothing. I'm sorry to hear that he passed away. So, what makes you think he met Kira on that bus?
Because 8 days after that bus was hijacked, he died, along with the other FBI investigators. The same man had attempted to rob a bank 2 days before he hijacked that bus. Then he dies in an accident, just like that. I mean, really, what are the odds? I've come to believe that Kira set up that bus jacking. It was planned to bring him into contact with my fiancé in order to obtain information regarding the identities of the other FBI agents so he could get rid of them all. Anyway, what stands out to me is that the hijacker died in an accident. In other words, it suggests that heart attacks aren't the only way Kira can kill people.
Okay, so the busjacker didn't die of a heart attack. And based on that, you're saying Kira has other ways of killing people?
Yes.
Don't take this the wrong way, but I think that's a bit of a leap of faith.
There's no other way of looking at it. If Kira was controlling the hijacker, chances are he killed him too.
I still don't see it.
I've been wondering about that bus jacking ever since my fiancé first told me about it. After he calmed down, I asked him for details. He didn't mention any names or anything like that, but he told me one thing.
What did he say?
That he'd been put in a situation where he had to show his FBI ID to someone. The operation was undertaken secretly without the NPA's knowledge. He wasn't allowed to show his ID. I think whoever saw his ID that day is responsible for the deaths of all the agents.
Unbelievable. She figured it out. This must be the oversight Light was worried about.
Your theory is worth looking into. That's for sure. Your testimony could be central to the case.
It could.
If what you're telling me is true, then it'll only be a matter of time before the police catch up with Kira. The person your fiancé showed his ID to on the bus that
was
day...
me.
It had to be Kira.
That's right.
That was close. This woman... If she'd spoken to the police before I met her... But it seems there's a god on my side after all. And not just a god of death.
Oh, it's so awful. Because she's just walked into his trap. And, like, it's almost like fate, because there was no way he could have predicted that he would have run into her, and it's only because he offered to take his father's clothes to the task force that he was able to bump into her and overheard her talking. So it's almost as if, like, destiny plays a role into this, and I guess that's also, like, a wider theme. People tend to wonder how much destiny and fate play into somebody's life and inevitable death, you know. Is it just destined to happen, or is it just a horrible coincidence? Whereas this is toying with the idea that it was destined and preordained that she would die this way, because what are the chances that he would run into the only piece of evidence that he had not tracked down? So I guess the show, not only is it toying with the idea of morality, it's toying also with the concept of destiny and fate. He's saying, oh, it looks like the gods, God is on my side, not just the gods of death, because in his mind, this is such an unbelievable opportunity that it has to have been preordained. It had to have been given to him by a higher power. It's not something that just happens. It's just so unbelievable in the way that it's been orchestrated that it almost has to be fated. And we know he hasn't arranged this because he didn't know about this until beforehand, but he has the paper, so we know that he is going to write her death, and that it's probably going to be one of the most tragic instances, because she truly is the most innocent in all of this. She is just a woman mourning the loss of her fiance, trying to make sense of his untimely demise, trying to bring him justice for being murdered, trying to figure out what's going on, what happened, and she is going to lose her life for it because he's so egotistical that he cannot allow anybody to one-up him. He also cannot allow anybody to beat him, but also he is now beginning to kill innocent people, which is what I said all along was going to happen, because he cannot not be susceptible to greed and power and human fragility. You know, he is human, he is innate to doing wrong things. And if you look at the idea of original sin and knowledge, it is seen as once we obtain that knowledge and we conducted the first original sin, we are predestined to have flaws in our personalities as humans, because we are innately fallible because of original sin. So I guess that's what they hint with the apple, is that humans are flawed, and innately this idea of him being a god and benevolent and all-knowing is ultimately a flawed ideal, because he is human. He gives into human emotion, he gives into being rash, he gives into greed, he gives into his ego. He cannot be an all-seeing benevolent deity because it's not within human capability to be that. Also, the color coding is really interesting. So I noticed that in the intro they tend to show Elle in blue and they tend to show Light in red, and then again the image of him and her on the crossroad, he is red, she is blue. So colors do have a symbolic meaning to them. So even in Christianity, and I know I keep linking this back to Christian religion, but again, the Christian references and Christian symbology in Death Note are numerous. So blue in itself can symbolize wisdom, it can symbolize faith, it can symbolize trust, loyalty. Blue has a very calming atmosphere to it. It is seen as one of serenity and order, and because of its link to the idea of order, red, on the other hand, would be seen as a symbol of disorder. So as much as Light wants to believe that he is on the path of creating this utopia, he is actually creating discontent, disharmony, disorder, whereas the colors of blue, which are linked now to, I forgot her name unfortunately, linked to the Raye's fiance, but also linked to Elle, which we see in the intro, is the blue that surrounds him. They're showing that these characters are on the path of moral justice. Their morality is order, to make sure that justice is done, to make sure that the truth is known. They are undeceptive. They are willing to sacrifice everything for order, justice, and truth all out, whereas red is a lot more complicated. It symbolizes anger, danger, violence. It also is seen as a warning. It's often associated, you see it, red flags. It's associated with danger, but also you can see in life and death that red would be used as a sign of life and mortality. So the connection of red as an idea around light is not only showing that he has the power over people's life and mortality because of that symbolism, but also the danger and violence that he enacts upon society. It also is shown as a dominant color over blue. So blue tends to be a more calming color, it tends to be a more passive color, whereas red is seen as more dominant and powerful. But they also clash. Red and blue do not go together on the color wheel, they clash. So this is emphasizing through the symbolism of red and blue that red is going to come into conflict with characters that are on the path of moral righteousness and moral justice. And it's just such an interesting way to depict it in the show. It's very subtly done, because the only time outside of this I think you see that red and blue contrast is in the intro. So if you don't watch the intro, it's very easily missed. But yes, such an interesting episode. Again, bringing up conversations about divinity and fate, but also the symbolism of color, of moral righteousness and danger, and also life and death and innate mortality. So if you enjoyed this episode, please consider liking, subscribing, and leaving a comment below to help boost this video into the algorithm so we can find more Death Note fans. And until next episode, bye!